Hello, welcome to Quays News. The time is 4:30 p.m. I'm Gracie Jones.
And I'm Keira Aston. Here is what we have coming up on today's programme. Doctors across the country have launched a 5-day strike in a dispute over pay. We'll find out how it's impacting Greater Manchester.
Sky Sports axes its new Halo brand amid criticism and accusations of patronising women's sports fans.
It's just not been executed, I think, in the way that it should do or it should have been.
As the streets get more icy, we have to know how to stay safe when walking near canals and what to do if you do fall in.
Manchester held a huge march on Saturday, joining millions around the globe to call for climate justice at the 30th COP meeting in Brazil.
Turning guys away because everyone wants to come and be part of it, which is really nice. It's a nice headache to have.
And talk about fantasy football, meet Wythenshawe FC and the Premier League superstars of Sunday League. First this afternoon, NHS strikes are happening all across England this week due to a dispute over pay.
Yes, that's right. The British Medical Association has demanded a 26% pay uplift to restore resident doctors' earnings to their real value from 2008.
Our reporter Isabel Grady has been to Manchester Royal Infirmary to find out more.
NHS resident doctors are currently on a 5-day strike as part of a national dispute over pay and working conditions. This began on the 14th of November and will continue on to the 19th. Whilst it may look like a normal day today, yesterday there was a picket line covering this corner. The industrial action is the 13th walkout by doctors since March 2023, with the last strike in July estimated to have cost the health service £300 million. The Health Secretary has already refused to budge on demands for a pay uplift, whilst NHS health leaders have warned that continuing action could see frontline staffing, appointments and operations cut.
They're putting a lot of strain on nurses at the minute because there's a lot of jobs that only the doctors are trained to do, and with the doctors striking there's only really one doctor per area of expertise, which means people are chasing after this one doctor to get things done and this doctor can't do it. It means that we're doing a lot more jobs that like the doctors could be doing. Like, say if we get hold of the one doctor and they need bloods doing for a certain lab testing thing that they needed doing, we're then having to find nurses that are trained to do venipuncture, even though the doctor could have just done it, but he or she is too busy to do it.
What do you think the result of the strike should be?
That there is more jobs, because the NHS is struggling with doctors as it is, even without the strikes. There's not enough doctors to go around the patients.
Thank you for that, Isabel. Now, Sky Sports has scrapped its new female-focused TikTok channel, Halo, after it faced backlash online with its post described as patronising and sexist. Our reporter Malaika joins us now. Hi Malaika. So can you tell us a little bit more about what Halo was and why did it cause such a reaction?
Thanks. Halo was a TikTok channel launched by Sky Sports to connect with young female sports fans. But instead of celebrating women's sport, it used pink filters, emojis and captions like hot girl walk, and many felt like it was patronising. We spoke to first-year sports journalist Abby Murphy, who had quite strong thoughts on this.
I thought it was really degrading. Obviously, we've fought for 50 years to try and bring women's sports back, so to have to log onto TikTok and see that and then see that they're dumbing it down for us, it was really quite irritating just to see all that hard work has kind of been pushed back.
Do they think that there's a better way to represent female sports fans?
Absolutely. Most of the people that we interviewed said that they want real coverage like highlights, interviews and behind the scenes content. Rose Courtine is a second-year broadcast student who also mentors for the first sports journalists.
The idea behind it I can completely get, and I can completely see why they'd want to be promoting that for young women to get into and to kind of watch and have that understanding of sports and I get where they were coming from. However, I think the execution of it and kind of like what I've been seeing, like obviously the hot girl walks and like the matcha and those kind of I think it's too stereotypical.
Thank you for that, Malika. A powerful message there. Yesterday, a man had to be rescued by the fire service after falling into the canal near Charles Street. As the weather gets colder and the streets become icy, concerns are rising for the safety of pedestrians who walk alongside rivers and canals. With more on this, our reporter Lily Holt has been by the quays at Media City.
As the days get colder and the pavements begin to ice over, the risk of harm for people who walk near the river and canal pathways around Manchester is increasing. 193 people accidentally drowned in the UK in 2024. And in the last 5 years, Greater Manchester firefighters have responded to 66 accidental drowning deaths. Whilst local authorities have installed safety barriers and railings, as well as improved lighting and grab rails, there are still major safety risks for those who use the water pathways in the winter. Even for strong swimmers, cold water shock can render you paralysed from muscle failure, and strong undercurrents can pull people underwater in a matter of seconds. If you see someone else in trouble, Greater Manchester Fire Service advises members of the public to remember call, tell, throw. Call 999, tell the person to float on their back and stay calm, and throw them something that they can grab onto. If you yourself find yourself in difficulty in the water, the most important thing to do is don't panic. Thrashing around and hyperventilating are signs of cold water shock, but they should pass in just a few minutes. Instead, tilt your head back so your ears are submerged, relax and try and breathe normally, and spread your arms and legs and move them about to help you stay afloat. Once your breathing is stable, then it is safe to call for help. If you are caught in a current, point your feet downstream to kick any obstacles out of the way. Located alongside Manchester's rivers and canals are these safety throw lines. To use these throw lines, you must dial 999 and tell them where you are, and they will give you the code, and then you simply throw the bag to the person who is in trouble and attach the line to drag them back to safety. It is important to note that many of the injuries and deaths in the canals in Manchester have been linked to alcohol consumption. So if you've been on a night out, you've been for a few drinks, just avoid the canals generally. Whilst you cannot eliminate the risk of falling into cold water, knowing how to save yourself or someone else may just save a life.
Thank you, Lily. Manchester held a huge march on Saturday which joined millions around the globe to call for climate justice at the 30th COP meeting in Brazil.
People were threatened and harassed by far-right video streamers, with some being badly injured.
The summit is in key place this time, and Dan Walters is here now to explain more. Dan, firstly tell us about what happened on Saturday.
So on Saturday there was a massive march through the centre of Manchester which saw thousands of people come together for climate justice. Now this comes as the ongoing meeting is going on in Brazil over in Belém for the COP30 meeting, where world leaders are gathering to try and solve this issue with deforestation around the Amazon rainforest and other things like that. I spoke to the Greater Manchester Climate Justice Coalition leader, Linda Walker, earlier, and she said that these world leaders are not doing enough.
It was so important because our government and most governments across the planet are just not doing enough. The Brazilian government put forward a plan at COP to protect the rainforests, and the UK government immediately said, we're not putting any money into it. Our government needs to be doing so much more to insulate our homes and provide green public transport, provide lots of green jobs. They're just not doing enough, not fast enough, and governments are not coming together to see how they can tackle the issues.
So Dan, what was the troubles during the match?
Well, during the march on Saturday, unfortunately, lots of people collided with several different marches that were going on. There was this one about COP30 and also the ongoing Palestinian marches too. There was a lot of commotion though. Lots of people, including children and families, were injured, threatened and harassed. And many people did actually end up in hospital with a concussion, which should never have happened really in what was a family-friendly march. It just seems that police couldn't do anything. When I spoke to Linda, she was told directly from the police that they weren't able to do anything, but these people were not there to spread a difference of opinion. They were just there to harass and threaten. And it just seemed that the people marching thought that this was just worse than anticipated.
It was a real shock that there was so much opposition to a family-friendly march. The first half of the march from All Saints to St Peter's Square was actually led by a group of quite small children carrying the banner. There were lots of families on it, lots of people who don't normally demonstrate, perhaps had never been on a march before. And it was utterly shocking that these people harassed us the whole time, trying to stop people speak.
And why is the COP30 meeting so important?
Well, this year it marks 10 years since the 2015 Paris Agreement, which you may know Donald Trump removed the US from on his first day of office. Last year was the hottest year on record. This needs to be changed, says lots of climate activists, including Linda Walker. And deforestation rates are still bad, but they are declining. Over the past few years, it has got a lot better, but there is still vast amounts of deforestation going on, which is causing a lot of turmoil over in the south of America. It's not looking good for what should be a change in the climate change. And there are actually a lot of things, though, that people in Manchester and in the UK can do locally.
People need to be pressing their council, pressing their MP to take urgent action. And of course, doing things themselves. To recycle, to fly as little as possible, to use public transport when they can. But it's mostly down to government to make these things the obvious choice. If we had good, cheap public transport across the country, then people wouldn't need to use their cars so much.
Thank you for joining us, Dan. Next, Warburton Toll Bridge has increased its fee from 12p to £1. The bridge is owned by Peel Ports and gives locals in certain postcodes a 50% discount, but some who live near the bridge do not receive one, which the local MP raised in Parliament.
However, residents in Earlham and Cadishead have been arbitrarily excluded from the local resident discount scheme, meaning that they have to pay full price, while many who live further away from the bridge receive a 50% discount.
Have you ever dreamed of building your own star-studded Sunday League team? Well, that's what Wythenshawe FC appear to be doing, as their over 35s team has recruited the help of some former Premier League stars. Vinny Gaynor reports.
If you could build your dream Sunday League team, who would you want? Well, you'd want class, a bit of flair, maybe even some Premier League experience. Meet Wythenshawe FC, the Sunday League side who are making this a reality.
Wythenshawe versus Liverpool Salford is a game which you'd usually expect to just be your run-of-the-mill average Sunday League game, but that's until you realise the home side have a combined 222 Premier League goals and 325 national caps between them. A goal behind me as we're doing this, which is fantastic. Players such as Stephen Ireland, Danny Drinkwater and Papis Cisse are just some of the players out there amongst regular old players who play every week for this team. You know, once competing for the Premier League, now plying their trade in Sunday League.
So I'm afraid we had some technical difficulties there, so apologies about that. Students from the University of Salford's Fine Art course have been selected by Salford Pride to appear in their next art exhibition this Wednesday.
The Manchester Club
What's
competing.
the Tea showcases work from local trans and non-binary artists within the Salford area through different mediums such as film, photography or art.
Our reporter, Freya Johnson, channelled her inner Picasso and headed down to the art studios on Peel Park campus to speak to the lucky few taking part in the exhibition.
It's great
As part
for the
of
club.
Trans Awareness Week 2025, Salford Pride are hosting an exhibition dedicated to local trans and non-binary artists. What's the Tea is described as being an evening celebrating the beauty, power and diversity of trans creativity through different mediums such as art, photography, film and performance. Students from the University of Salford are among some of the creatives being celebrated, and they expressed how important this opportunity was.
I'm so excited. I nearly didn't do it because I was like, I don't really have anything to submit until I realised that they were taking video work, because I've submitted my video piece, An Ode to Togetherness, which is a folk video piece featuring like my own violin and me and the people I surround myself with. I played with projections and like I put my dance shoes on, got some dancing in.
The event is going to be held on Wednesday the 19th of November right here at Nels in Media City. It's an effort from Salford Pride to uplift the trans and non-binary community within Salford. Another student picked for the exhibition is Levi, and he expressed how art is an expression of his identity, something he struggled to do before starting art at Salford.
There's not many opportunities that people like me and people who are trans and non-binary have in the art world just for them, and I feel like our art and ourselves, we get overlooked a lot, and it's so important to highlight like our talents and our creativities, like not just from our transness. I think it really helps me express myself through the digital work, because I feel like I can give myself a voice in the art world and prove that digital art is accessible in the modern day with like AI and with all this crazy stuff happening, and I wanted to use this as a way of just like explaining how overwhelming it is sometimes, especially when you're like a young person. I feel like I've connected a lot with my younger self when making my art.
Freya Johnson, Quays News, Salford.
Thank you for that, Freya. Now we are coming to the end of our show, but before we do, our reporter, Reese Hanson, has been exploring the joys of getting outside and enjoying the greater Manchester sunshine.
Did you know there's a 200-mile walking route around Manchester? It's called the Greater Manchester Ringway, and it consists of 20 segments that you can do in single-day stints. Most of them are accessible by public transport, and it's a great way to get out into the great outdoors of Manchester. Like, for example, Wigan. It's not really a nice shot, is it? The idea for the Greater Manchester Ringway came from a former Uni of Salford lecturer, Dr. Andrew Reid, who led the project, helping it secure a £250,000 grant from the National Lottery Heritage Fund to establish it as a permanent feature in the city. You can do the stages in any order, with this one being number 16, Wigan to Lee. One of the aims of the project was to encourage and enable people in getting out and active to benefit their health. A review of 17 studies by researchers at the University of Edinburgh found that walking in nature improved people's moods, helping them to feel positive and less stressed and anxious, even if you set up a camera and forget how to walk. Numerous studies have also proven that walking in nature, or as opposed the outskirts of Wigan, is linked to reduced anxiety and depression. Bring a friend along for a chat and you may find yourself feeling a great deal better afterwards.
Oh, that is crazy though. 1 year ago, I was Wigan.
But what do Wigan's residents think? Any opinion? Hello? Ducks, Quays News.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what that was either. Thank you for that, Reese. That was a quacking report.
On that note, that's all we have time for today. Be sure to check out our socials. You can find us at Quays News.
We'll be back same time tomorrow. Goodbye.
Goodbye.